What is an opinion you once held that was proven completely wrong? People I work with will notice hard work and reward me for it. Turns out, you have to be social and have to advocate for your own career. If you respect someone, you'll get respect. My home country is a great country that I should be proud of. I was 8 when they held the Beijing Olympics. I remember being so excited and proud. And that was the last time I've ever felt something positive for my home country. I had a lot of misinformed opinions about drug use. I volunteered with the DARE Drug Abuse Resistance Education program in my small town through the local PD for a few years in middle school, early high school. I remember going to a party and seeing people smoke weed and being shocked there weren't overdoses or wild attacks or something. I did my own actual research on marijuana and realized how much of what DARE taught was either false or misinformation. My opinions shattered and I figured drug use wasn't that bad. I had to learn again that drugs really can be dangerous again later through the loss of a friend. Luckily I never really wanted to do anything more than weed anyway. But I had to learn my opinions were wrong twice before I had a healthy understanding. I think it would have been a lot easier if things were presented honestly from the beginning. If you're an honest and hard worker, management won't blackball you. I used to think Kermit the Frog was a lizard until I was 12 years old. I thought his name was just part of the joke because he obviously looks like a lizard. Until I was 18. I genuinely thought that the way to cook vegetables was to boil the out of them to the point where they tasted lifeless. Turns out broccoli, carrots and cauliflower both taste so much nicer when you roast them and add seasoning. Plus roast potatoes taste so much nicer than boiled potatoes. That all religious people are good. And the non-religious ones are most likely worse. Went to Catholic school for most of my life. Raised in a very liberal Catholic household. It all came crashing down when my city's cathedral caught a highly respected member pocketing a stack of money from collection boxes. Red-handed on CCTV. It was a long time ago and I'm glad I no longer judge non-religious people. That my mental health issues would get better with age. That certain life achievements would make me feel better about myself and make me happy. I'm not going to lie. Up till my late teens I literally thought depressed people just got over it. It was when I looked into depression more and one of my friends suffered from mental illness. That's when it really hit home that it's not as simple as that. That it is in fact what you know rather than who you know that will make you successful. That turned out to be completely false very quickly. That I am smart. And that I am good at video games. I don't know anything at all. And watching speed runs or tournaments of my favorite games shocks me at how great people do. Everyone has the same opportunities in America. And with hard work, we can all be successful. Therefore, those people whose families have been in poverty for generations, who turn to drugs and crime when they're teenagers, and who become teen parents must either be lazy or stupid. My facts were wrong. Someone who grows up in Beverly Hills with millionaire parents is going to have a lot more opportunity than someone who grows up in Detroit with homeless parents. Anyway, even if opportunities were equal, even if every child got a quality education and whatever higher education or vocational training they wanted for free, along with food and shelter and medical care, availability of opportunity does not undo trauma. It does not undo abuse. It does not undo learning disabilities, physical disabilities, and whatever else happens outside of the classroom. Parents who use leashes on their toddlers just don't want to put the effort into teaching them to listen. Am a parent now and have been paid back tenfold for those judgmental thoughts with a very rambunctious little boy who looks right at you with the sweetest little smile while he ignores you before running away like a squirrel on crack. We have a harness for him now. I thought COVID-19 was a normal flu. Until 2/3 more peeps died very quickly and now we have less NBRS death than normal. It really ain't a normal flu. Calories aren't burned or sweated out. They are literally breathed out via aerobic respiration. The more carbon dioxide you breathe out, the more weight you lose. You don't have to clean dishes right after you eat. You can just let them pile up for a couple days before cleaning it all. Found out real quick the best way to keep a clean living area is to just clean them right away. He can't possibly say or do anything more stupid than he has already. I'm proven wrong nearly every day. The worst part is that I don't even have to name him for a lot of people to know exactly who I'm referring to. But here we are, still letting him get away with it. That people were abominations. I was 13 and deep in that religious Kool-Aid. I had a best friend who was a girl in my classes. We got along really well and I think a part of me liked her. One day she told me she liked girls. I felt a pit hit my stomach. Followed by waves of confusion, embarrassment and anger. It was a gut punch I definitely needed and I came to my senses and realized I was a bigot. All refugees, immigrants are cool awesome people that need to be supported because they are all good. No, I know they have just the same percentage of assholes as people that already live here. Plus, given the fact that they are in a completely different country, are traumatized by war, poverty and the travel to Europe in conditions, have zero perspectives here and have a religion that is mostly not compatible if you follow it strictly. Well, they are just assholes like us. That I can be friends with someone with completely opposite political opinions than me. If we don't agree on fundamentals, then I can't really see a friendship happening. That being called is an insult in my defense. I was 12 at the time. I mean, I was a hardcore libertarian who wrote in Ron Paul for 2 elections. So I've been proven wrong about many things. That people who experience unplanned pregnancies are irresponsible people and that they should have to have the child as a "you made your bed, now lie in it" type of thing. I was a bitter early 20-something. I would get annoyed whenever any character in a movie acted on emotion or chose to save one over many. Then I fell in love and understood I was just a lonely prick before. I used to think that stereotypical American pushrod V8s that had huge displacements were actually physically massive. I assumed engine displacement equals physical size. I shocked to learn that a 7-liter LS7 is only marginally larger than the turbo 1.8L 4-cylinder out of a Mazda Speed Miata. The reason is due to the camshaft setup. Most engines these days are overhead camshaft designs, meaning they have a large cylinder head with 1 to 2 camshafts, almost always 2 these days, and complicated timing chain setups. Pushrod V8s are cam in block, meaning that they have a single camshaft that sits inside the engine block, which makes the cylinder heads much smaller. Pushrod V8s are comically small. You're talking about squeezing 500 horsepower in 2006, which was when the LS7 was released, into a physical space that is perhaps only 30% larger than the typical 200 horsepower 4-cylinder. And doing so without the need for superchargers or turbochargers, add forced induction in. And you're now looking at 650 to 750 horsepower rather than 500. In the early stages of the pandemic, I believed only unhealthy and/or elderly people were at risk for severe cases of coronavirus. I realized how wrong I was in March. But I wonder why I was so misinformed for so long. All old people are wise. Until I met a few who are idiots. Always drunk and egoistic. That people chose to be. Mormonism. That 3rd trimester abortions were bad because only irresponsible and/or atrocious women had them. I read a story on Reddit about a man's experience with his baby. There was something really wrong with it. And the couple found out at the end of the pregnancy. Doctor advised the couple that they should get a late-term abortion. They decided not to, because they and their families were deeply religious. The baby ended up suffering outside the womb, and its head exploded in its father's arms shortly after birth. The dad felt extreme guilt for not taking the doctor's advice and allowing his child to suffer. Anyway, I read up some more on late-term abortions. And they're only like 1% of all abortions. And something like 99% of that 1% are due to the baby having no chance to live outside the womb. They're always babies that were wanted and expected to be carried to full term and be born and loved. Pretty heartbreaking. And completely changed my opinion on late-term abortions. The sun is not bigger than the whole world. I was only 6. It was a mind-blowing concept. In the game, Fate Grand Order, Berserkers do 2x damage to all other classes. Turns out they actually only do 1.5x damage. I remember when Trump was running, people said he was a good businessman. I used to say that he might be a brilliant businessman, but that doesn't necessarily make a good president. Now I know that he was a businessman and an president. Jesus died for my sins. Talk about a guilt trip. In the beginning I honestly thought the coronavirus panic was. I admitted I was wrong fairly quickly. But I made a couple of Facebook posts in February that made me look very foolish. I should have realized I was wrong the second I found myself agreeing with Trump. Never again.